Thank you very much. It was about 50 years ago, almost exactly, that a note went out, a chord, a sound, to the world. And it had great effects. It wasn't long before the teenage female population of the world responded. They screamed, they cried, and they fainted. And this chord reached out to every country in the world. Behind the Iron Curtain, South America, North America, Europe, they screamed and they cried and they fainted. Millions upon millions of girls that I loved. If I had been a braver boy, I would have screamed with them. I would have cried because so much was in that chord, and it echoes still. They screamed and they cried and they fainted because of what was happening around them. The world was going from black and white to shades of gray, and from shades of gray to full field color. The wonderful world of color, as Disney called it. The televisions became colorful. Peter Mass made color art. Color started showing up in Paisleys and mattresses. Color was everywhere after that chord. They screamed and cried and fainted in anticipation of the bullets that would fly. The bullets thudding into the bodies of John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert, the body of Martin Luther King, thudding into the body of Malcolm X, spraying the fields in Vietnam. The bullets that were on the way. Our young females screamed and cried in anticipation of this. They screamed and cried in anticipation of the smoke they smelt that would come in flames. The bodies of black African-American children in Baptist churches. The bodies burning of monks on embassy stairways. The flames that would come in Watts, LA, and Attica. Detroit and Kansas City. The flames that would come across America and the smoke that the girls sensed coming. And they screamed and they cried and they fainted. And if I had been a braver boy, I would have screamed and cried too. They screamed and they cried and they fainted over the cultural revolution that was happening around them, that would start with that chord. They screamed and cried in Tokyo, London, New York, Seattle, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, Buenos Aires, Mexico City. They screamed and cried and fainted because that chord resonated in their soul. They screamed and cried and fainted because of the rioting that would take place as the hippies put their expression into action and stopped the Vietnam War. The deaths on Kent State. And around the world as the French Students' Rebellion, the British, everywhere, the youth rebelled and stopped the war. And they screamed and cried and fainted because of the potential and the beauty of that. And they screamed and cried and they fainted because the computer was coming. The hippies would seize the computer from the man. Steve Jobs, the hippie. Bill Gates, the hippie. Mitch Kapor, the hippie. Richard Stallman, the hippie. The hippies would seize the computer from the man. Free it from the white castles, men in white coats who took care of the computers in a semi-religious fervor. And they said, no, we'll program them. And those girls could feel that coming. They felt the iPhone in their sinew, and they screamed and they cried and they fainted. They screamed and they cried and they fainted because of the pills. Birth control pills. Holy moly. Hallelujah. That's what the boys said. We were brave enough about that. The pills, LSD. Turning on, tuning in, and dropping out. The pills, ecstasy, DMT. The pills, Ritalin. They screamed and cried because the pills would change everything. They screamed and cried for more smoking, the tons and tons of marijuana that the nation smoked, that the world smoked, clouded their minds and sparked their vision. The smoke of Burning Man was in their nostrils. And Lady Gaga was performing on stage. And all her little monsters were screaming and crying and fainting in the grand tradition of anticipatory greatness. That's what those girls did when they screamed. And the biggest scream of all, the most prolonged and in-depth set of tears, the most comprehensive act of fainting, was at what was coming right now to you. As we turn from the machine we programmed, from the machine in which we cast our reason and program it in ourselves, and become reasonable creatures at last. And that's what I'm here to announce with that chord. Bring! What does it say to us today? Well, for that, I need to tone down a little bit and tell you a tale or two. It's perhaps the only keynote you'll hear that has a note. It has several notes. That guitar chord is so mysterious that it's controversial today, how it's done. Music from heaven. How it's done has never been figured out. I guess they're starting to figure it out now. But what happened was George Harrison confessed before his death how the chord was created. As he took a guitar, a 12-string guitar, and he tuned it however he wanted. He seized the guitar from the man and played the sound that resonates still. Apparently someone approached him on his deathbed or before, probably. We'll say his deathbed, it's more colorful. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. And they played the chord for him. And he went, how did you do that? That's impossible to do. I made it so that could never be done. Anyway. But we're here to talk about Agile. And greatness. About culture hacking and culture tech, which are just beginning now. This, ladies and gentlemen, this meeting, and perhaps even this moment, this is your homebrew computer club meeting in 1976 or 75, whenever that was. When Bill Gates said, no, you have to pay for software. I heard that note. Stopped everything, sold my business, started programming BASIC. And he was right. You have to pay for software, at least Microsoft style. At least through the 90s, when Richard Stallman started catching on with the hacker ethos applied to information. The hacker ethos, you can substitute hippie for hacker. It's the same one. It will be seen as our philosophical zenith in generations to come. We are a society that was sculpted and created by the hacker ethos. The idea that information is free and wants to be free. The idea that people must be free. The idea that technical objects must be created that cannot be subverted by governments. Don't you just thrill when you hear about the people creating like technology, like satellites, that's afoot now. We're going to send satellites out so that no country can repress the internet. It just won't be able to be done. They screamed about that, and that was a note in that chord, that we would set everything free. We would set information free. And there can be all sorts of national security acts and crazy crapola to repress people and things and steal things. But there are enough of us in this room and elsewhere in this world who will hack it. We will hack it and set it free. And we will build in controls so that forevermore, all that is inherited from what we create must be free. That is the spirit of our times. Now, how does civilization progress? Western civilization in particular. We are gated upon the mutants we call geniuses. We get some geniuses every now and then. Most of them, we stomp them out at birth because the difference scares us. Some of them have that unique combination of not only brilliance and creativity and other virtues, but they also have the virtue of persistence and courage. They don't care if you don't like them. They don't care. That sets them free. They don't care. I've tried to emulate that in my life to a certain extent. They don't care. So we get some of them, not because we deserve them, but because of the nature of things. That some people will be like that. And how many will be like that? How many will have what is required? That persistence and that courage and that brilliance and creativity. How many? 10 per century? 100 per century? That's the answer, apparently. 100 century. I love the phones. They don't bug me at all. Turn all your phones on. Let my people free. You know? They always ring when they're supposed to. You know. In fact, people that are always like, "Don't take notes when you're," you know, like, "Don't look at your phone when I'm with you." You know, it's like, really? Are you that insecure that you can't allow someone to multitask while they interface with you? They're multitasking whether you see it or not. Most of the time, there's just kind of they are flipping the bozo bit, my friend. Most of the time. So don't worry about their looking at their phone. They're getting the necessary comic relief from dealing with you. In fact, it's kind of funny. As soon as I told my teenage girls, "Oh no, go ahead. That doesn't bother me at all," they stopped doing it. Of course, they wouldn't bother me. Yes, so we're gated on geniuses. So one big thing that has happened in the last decade or so is that we have learned how to reliably fabricate geniuses out of many people. I can show you today how to fabricate a genius out of a team. Pretty reliably. Pretty automatically, almost. It's not automatic from their point of view, but it is from mine. That's a culture hack that my wife and I have done in the 17 years since we left Microsoft. Let's take a poll on that, shall we? How many of you, with all the people that have been in this room that have been on a team that was in a state of shared vision, please stand up. Stand up. That is, you knew you had a common goal. You knew you were going to achieve it. Maybe it was in grade school. Maybe it was a Boy Scout troop. Whatever it was, where you were working together until the goal was hit, and you knew what the goal was. All right, now remain standing. Let's see how valuable this is. Being on a team in a state of shared vision is twice as good as being on a team without one. Please sit down if that's not true. It's at least twice as good. Team state of shared vision, team without one, at least twice as good. Let me try again. Being on a team in a state of shared vision is at least 5 times as good as being on one without one. Let's try again. Being on a team in a state of shared vision is at least 10 times as good as being on one without one. All right, if I say something that you can relate to, you can sit down now. We've got to sit down eventually. Wait, let me say something you relate to. Being on a team in a state of shared vision versus being on a team without one is the difference between joy on the one hand and misery on the other. If you can't relate to that, you can sit down to any. Because you got to work with me. I can't get you down. So, just so those that were all straight on this, a significant percentage, 2/3 maybe, of the people in this room are aware of a state of being that is 10 times or thereabouts or more better than the alternatives. Now, we didn't define better. I mean, it's not a scientific thing, but it should give you the gestalt of things. It's a lot better. So what we decided was, yes, indeed, it was a lot better. It was the equivalent between, composing with Mozart and composing with my dog. Right? It was genius. A team in that state is in a genius state. They're able to speak to each other without full sentences. I mean, the ideas are commonly held and they materialize in ways that we can't understand. And it's kind of a multi-personal state of flow. This is something I wanted to learn how to duplicate, so I set out to figure it out. So in 1995, my wife Michelle and I started inviting people to what we called a boot camp. And the idea was to boot software, to boot new ideas, to boot afresh. And the assignment in this one-week course was do something great this week, in effect. And we mean great, something historically significant. After 17 years of doing that with team, hundreds and hundreds of teams and thousands of the best people in our society has to offer, we have arrived at a certain set of practices that turn out to be software for your head. And that's the core protocols. And we can get a team to that state. That's my point. That's a known thing. Now, everybody's not doing it. It hasn't become a big business, or it's not a big revolution, or anything, but it is a revolution. And it can be done, and you can do it, and I can show you how to do it, and a lot of you guys are coaches and so on, right? This is where you're headed. This is why you love Agile, I'm guessing. In 1995, I wrote a book called Dynamic Software Development, which anticipated Agile by 5 or 6 years. So I'm in that same state again. But that book, had everything in there but the kitchen sink that we consider standard Agile practices today. Agile is a designed culture. Lean is a designed culture. Is the technology failing me in spite of my love for it?
Better now.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, yeah, you got to wave at me if it's not working out for you. I'll at least sympathize. Wouldn't you say that Apple Computer Company has become a great company? Right, and you say this on the strength of 2 or maybe 3 products, right? So it's not like hugely great, It's great in a couple of products. It's so great that it had more money in the bank a few months ago than the U.S. government. Now that should tell us something important. I'll tell you what it tells me. It tells me that Jefferson's day is done. And the hippies have arrived. They don't get the fact. The hippies have taken over, right? We got all the money. Not that we're any less greedy or ugly than everybody else, but that's, in fact, what happened with 2 or 3 great products. Greatness is what most of us seek, probably, right? Now, what is it exactly? In my view, greatness, let's start out with, well, what is goodness? What is good? I define good this way. Good is the attainment of the desirable. The attainment of the desirable. That's it. What you desire, you attain, that's good. Good, I got that. So it's not particularly like a moral dimension I'm speaking of. I'm speaking of pragmatic goodness. Goodness is one. Greatness, what is greatness? Greatness is abundant goodness. It's plenty of goodness. Enough goodness for everybody to eat. Enough goodness for, you know, to have a touchscreen on your cell phone. That's greatness. Apple's a great company. In its heyday, Microsoft was a great company. Google, yes, probably so. Although I worry about anybody that has to explicitly say, don't be evil. It's like, who said anything about evil? But it's a stab in the dark, I guess. It's okay. Yes? You're having trouble hearing me.
I turned it up as much as it could go up without you giving feedback.
So
what if I move?
The rooms are set so these speakers are pointed. The problem is if you're beyond that wall, these speakers are not designed to kick back there unless you can hook to those speakers.
No, it's variable. Sorry, you're stopping the line, folks. This is really good stuff, and I would like everybody to hear it.
I would like it too, and I tend to mutter on top of everything.
I think it's probably this isn't high enough.
We turned it up a bit, but then it started feeding back.
No.
So.
Yeah, he's talking about
Physically.
physiologically.
Yeah, that way. Say something funny.
How's that? Does that make any difference to you?
A little bit?
A little bit? Okay, well, I'll just try and be louder too. We got to deal with what we got to deal with.
There's more.
Anybody wants to come on out front and sit on the floor is fine
Do
too.
something about it, because this changes the stuff.
Let's show our agility. You know, come out and sit on the floor. Bring some seats with you if you want. There's walls.
I can only move so many of you
Come,
by hand.
let my people be free. Come join the hootenanny up here. We're singing Kumbaya. Hootenanny, there's a funny. There's seats here too. Come on, please. Don't suffer in silence.
There.
Well, there's a seat here. Two seats here. 3. Got 3 seats. Do I hear 3? 1. Okay.
Got 2 right here.
We have discharged our responsibility to our brethren in the back.
You don't move, it's on you.
Now,
Good is the attainment of desirable, greatness is the abundance of goodness.
oh yes, I was about to get to the punchline. Yes, greatness is abundant goodness. We got a hell of a student up here in this front row, I'll tell you that.
No, I read the tweets.
We're collectively a great bunch.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so what is then is magnificence? Magnificence is abundant greatness. And that's what we deserve. That's what we're after. I don't really care that much that Apple's a great company. I've benefited from its innovations, its 3 or 4 innovations. Right? I mean, they're great innovations. I don't mean to demean them, but we deserve abundant greatness, where every company is good abundantly, where every effort is good, where every family is magnificent, where we speak to one another with elegance, beauty, respect, and magnificence. Now, to really see what a magnificent society is like, we have to go all the way back, not 50 years to the hippies, but all the way back to Athens in its golden era. Now, will you help me here? What did Athens in its golden era give to us today?
Democracy.
Democracy.
Rhetoric.
No. Dialogue.
What?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Love of wisdom.
Love of wisdom. Love of wisdom. Yes.
Art.
Art. Yes.
Slavery.
Statuary especially.
Is it slavery?
Yes, they had slaves. They did have slaves. There's no denying it.
Logic.
I'm sorry.
Formal logic.
Logic, rhetoric,
Drama.
dramaturgy. The greatest dramaturgists were the first, really, except for Shakespeare.
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Yes, the Socratic method of talking and speaking. Architecture, etc., etc., etc. Mathematics. Yes. They gave us quite a bit. So they must have had a lot of geniuses, right? So they must have had a lot of citizens, because we know that the rate is low. How many citizens do you suppose there were in Athens during this golden era? Sort of a trick question, because citizens was white men. Actually, it was all men.
White freemen.
Yeah, freemen. Okay, so the total population was around 250,000. The white male population, or the male population, was around 100,000. So about the size of, I don't know, say Santa Clara, San Jose, smaller than San Jose, certainly. About the size of Redmond, Washington. Now, all we need to do, of course, is look at Redmond, Washington, and Athens to see that we're on the right track.